Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Rising Tide Leadership Podcast, where we simplify the complexities of your leadership journey. My name is Mo, and today I'm honored to be sitting in the host chair with a truly transformative leader, Tamara Laine. Tamara is an Emmy Award-winning journalist, founder of Empower, an AI-powered financial platform built for gig workers, freelancers, and creators. She's built her career challenging outdated systems, rewriting the rules of credit, and building new ones in their place. Her journey from investigator to innovator, from microphone to market, offers powerful leadership lessons for anyone keen to lead with purpose, problem solving, and people-centric strategy. You're going to want to stick around for this one to see how she serves underserved markets and scales with integrity. Tamara, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I love that, from microphone to purpose. I've got to use that. That's going to go on my Twitter handle.
It's all yours. Take it and use it. Tamara, why don't you tell my audience a little bit about yourself, where you came from, your company, and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, how much time do we have? I'll try and give you the abridged version. So, I really have a fun journey to where I am today that I originally thought was untraditional, and now have learned how useful it is to have a vast wealth of experience, especially when you're an entrepreneur creating something. So I started out my career as an investigative journalist, actually as a documentary filmmaker, and then an investigative journalist, helping launch 3 different media outlets. I was on the street doing, news as well as breaking news and investigations for a lot of that time. And then after, working in the news, and again, like I said, launching a couple of different media outlets, I decided I wanted to work with specifically women entrepreneurs on their communication and messaging for startups. And that kind of launched me into the startup scene. And it became just something that I was so passionate about, was how do you start a company and scale it? And to me, it was almost like a news story, right? How do you come up with a news story and get it on the air? It was, how do you spot a problem and then you scale it? And so I learned how to do this, basically School of Hard Knocks. I helped different companies launch and scale. I advised a bunch of companies, and then I was asked to join a team of a live selling shopping platform. And that was where I really, kind of honed my ability to grow a company. So we did that. It was a lot of fun. After leaving that, I decided that I wanted to do something that was really challenging, that I could make a huge difference in, and that was financial inclusion. I'd been an advisor for and a board member on a foundation that had been working in financial fluency for many years. I'd been working in financial inclusion and in financial technology, and I really saw a disconnect with this, I call it the new economy, gig workers, caregivers, Gen Z, and being able to access financial services in a way that, fit their holistic person, right? And how they interact with the banking system. And so that's why I'm launching Empower, because I see the incredible power of AI to be able to bring in and bridge the gaps right now that are missing. And so we've created Empower. We're enabling the new economy to access credit and capital.
Yeah, I really love that. At Empower, you are focused on gig workers, freelancers, creators. Why did you pick this segment, and what is it about their experience that the mainstream financial system misses?
Yeah, well, I mean, so first, I was a gig worker, a freelancer for over half of my career. And we think of gig workers just as like our Uber drivers and our Lyft drivers, but it's not. The gig economy, and like you said, the creator economy is so vast. In the US alone, it's 80 million people, which is half of our US workforce. And so as I started to dig into this, and originally when I was looking at, again, I was very passionate about female founders, and female founders were accessing capital and how it was limited and how it affected them and their ability to grow businesses. And as I was digging into that, the investigative news reporter in me really started to boil down, what is the real problem here? Where's the real disconnect? And it is in the gig economy. People who don't make traditional W-2s have inconsistent cash flows, inconsistent work streams. And that's no longer something that's irregular. That's the norm. And that's why we need to create financial products and services that fit this new norm, right? We interact with our banking system completely different than how we used to. 5 years ago, we all went into the bank to take out cash or, get a loan. Now that doesn't happen. And so we have to reimagine the banking system for how we interact with it now, and especially with the new economy.
So is cash still king, or are we going somewhere else?
Well, I mean, that's a whole different story. I think, of course, I look a lot right now like what's happening stablecoin, and how that can work with like cross-border payments and things like that. But that's a whole different, category, something that's very unique and exciting. I think to me, it is an exciting time to be an innovator. There is so much that you can do now and you can do it quickly. So when I talk about, the opportunity and oh my goodness, there's a little bit of the financial system that's lagging, it's not a critique at all. It's to say, we actually have a huge opportunity for growth, and that's what we're grabbing.
Yeah, I love that. We'll have to have you come back on and we'll do an entire Is Cash Still King episode. I love it. I'm going to start working on it now. Tamara, you say that traditional credit system was built for a world that no longer exists. So what are some of the outdated assumptions that you identified and how did you redesign around them?
Traditionally, the assumption is that you've got a 9 to 5 job, right? You're getting a W-2, you're in that job for 10 years, 20 years. That's not how we interact with our work anymore. And it's not how we interact because, the younger generations are choosing a different lifestyle, right? They're choosing fractional, they're choosing remote, they're choosing freelance because it gives them a different quality of life. So we have to take that assumption that people get a W-2 and we've got to put that aside. We also have to take the assumption that everybody is going to be a homeowner in their life, right? And that your major kind of, when you look at your credit score, that your a loan, a home mortgage is going to be one of the main things that anchors you in your credit score. So, like, if we take those two major things out, we can start to begin to innovate. And that isn't necessarily new, right? There are some companies that are working on how do we look at data differently. Where we take a different approach is we're leveraging AI, and we think that AI can make this experience completely transformational for those who have a different experience with the financial system, right? AI assistants can help borrowers through this whole process so that now that we understand borrowers better and their histories, their holistic whole person, picture of being a renter, having 2 jobs, being seasonal, right? Traveling during the summer if they choose to, and knowing that in the fall their income's going to be higher. So maybe they need flexibility in their payment schedule. All of those things we can take into account. We can bring in AI and we can make a better product, meaning something that fits their financial well being as well as their schedule for payment and help them understand how to do that all in one place.
So, as a founder leading a fintech startup, what were some of the hardest internal leadership shifts that you had to make going from journalist to CEO?
Oh my goodness. Again, how much time do we have? There's there are so many shifts that have taken place as I look at my leadership style. One of the big things that I've been working on recently is leading with empathy. And so I started working with a leadership coach on this because I didn't even know this was a blind spot for me, but as I transitioned from my last company to knowing that I was going to be starting at my own product, I said, I need to be the best leader that I can be. And I need to understand how to improve myself because I think that as a leader, you should always be looking at how to improve yourself. You should never be stagnant. And you need an outside perspective in order to do that because I think startup founders are a different breed. We've got a very high self esteem. We've got a very high tolerance for pain, right? And so we can push through things without really seeing some of the ways to improve ourselves for a very long time. So I started working with a leadership coach and we looked at kind of my scores on how I lead people. One of the gating things was leading with empathy versus how I traditionally led was by convincing, right? I have the power to talk and to inspire and that's how I led in the news, right? In the news it was about finding a story and convincing people about this story, right? And I brought that into my leadership. And so I skipped over a lot of the empathizing with my team, with how to build on, as opposed to inspiring them, having them join in and be a part of it and them inspiring themselves. So it's been a transition for me of how do I do that naturally? And it's very hard because I am the type that leads with more like big picture, everybody jump on board my vision. So that transition has been something that I've been working on.
Tamara, your work touches on AI, financial inclusion, ethical innovation. How do you lead with fairness when technology scales so fast?
Yeah. One of the foundations that I learned, and it actually was from a story that I did when I was a reporter on ethical AI, was while building AI, you need to have a North Star. You need to have a code of ethics and you need to know um, kind of your standards and your frameworks in order to be building something in a way that is fair and just and unbiased. And so at Empower, we have a code of ethics that we created before we started creating the product. The other thing that I find critically important, and actually you're going to start seeing it in the news too, with like how the algorithms are working, is creating from a space of diversity. Because when you don't do that, you start to see the bias come in. And so there was a story actually today that started coming out on social media about how LinkedIn's algorithm promotes men more than it promotes women. And so if you change your how you identify on your LinkedIn page from a female to a male, you'll see your reach go up like astronomically.
Wow.
It's really interesting. And so this all comes down to how we're creating our algorithms, how we're creating our AI, right? And so if you don't think about that, if you aren't putting those frameworks in place to think about how will this affect someone, then you could find yourself in a position where your algorithms are not being just or fair or biased.
How do you ensure that the why drives the how and the what in your organization, especially when pressure mounts, investors, growth, market demands, etc.?
Yeah, I think that's the question for all leaders that they struggle with, right? And so you see the things, the people will tell you, "Oh, have your values on the wall," right? Start with your core values. And I think that's a good practice to have, which is, you always have your core values front and center. Um and in a place where every employee in your company can see them, say them, make sure that you're upholding them. I think it goes further than that as a leader, and it has to do a little bit with your passion in what you're creating. Because if your purpose and your passion truly do align, then you're going to be able to, when you're under pressure, always come back to that North Star. Versus if the product that you created wasn't really created with like a deep passion to change some sort of system or do something, then it's going to be a lot harder. And you're going to have to put guardrails in place, be it with your board, be it with your leadership team, and how you make decisions to come back to that. In fact, I know some people now, I haven't done this yet, but I probably will. They create like a contrarian AI agent to go over ideas with. And so these agents, you can go back and forth and they'll give you a different point of view because leaders are so often surrounded by people who are telling them, yes, you're doing well, good job. And you need to hear other points of view, putting in that your core values so that when you say, hey, I'm going to go into this meeting and they may want me to compromise this and this, you're hearing back, hey, are you really aligning with your values? Are you thinking about X, Y, and Z before making this decision?
So, in your view, what distinguishes a good leader in fintech or any disruptive field from a leader who just chases the next shiny tool?
I mean, there's nothing, I would say there's nothing wrong with either, right? But when it comes to being truly disruptive and starting something new, that leader needs a lot of grit. Because when you're creating a category, when you are creating something that's new, that the adoption curve hasn't like taken off yet, you're going to hear more no's than you're going to hear yes. And so if you're driven by purpose and you have like a real mission to change something, you're going to last a lot longer than if you just said, hey, this is a neat idea. I want to create this. So that purpose, that drive, and that, desire to truly make change might help you carry through the valleys of despair. I've been talking with a few founders and talking about like, how do you get through the valley of despair? Because that's a time where, like true progress is happening. That's how mission and purpose.
I like that. It makes me think of The Princess Bride in the pit of despair.
Yeah.
I think that my Gen Z audience, they're not going to have any idea what I'm talking about.
Oh,
But if you don't know what I'm talking about, you got to stop this podcast and go watch The Princess Bride, then come back and finish this because
then come back.
We've all been in the valley of despair, the pit of despair. If you look back 5 years from now, what kind of leadership legacy do you hope to have been building for Empower, for your community, for your industry, for your people?
Yeah, I mean, I've always hoped that the work that I do, you can look back and say, she truly helped change something that helped people and transformed lives. And so with my leadership style, I would say that's the same. I hope that my leadership style inspires others to be better and to do their best work and to think that they were a part of something special and that their work meant something, right? Not that they were just coming in doing the grind, but that them as a human being made a difference. And so that's, as a leader, the thing I hope for.
What's one leadership behavior that you believe is underrated, especially for emerging leaders, Gen Z, up and coming leaders, startup people?
Under a leadership quality that's underrated.
Underrated.
That's a good one. It's funny, I can think of more things that I don't like than that I do.
Well, let's start there. I love it. I love talking about things I don't like and then don't be like this.
I think there's a tendency as leaders to try and micromanage, and that's the thing that will be the death of your team. And so that's the first thing that I can think of that you don't want to do. But what you do want to do, I guess then on the flip side of that would be how do you empower your team to do their best work? And so the leadership qualities that can do that, that can give their team the freedom and flexibility to create. And actually, I do talk about this a lot, the importance of helping people be creators, create, own their work, be excited to try to do something better, not just accomplish their work, right? Not just do the tasks that are on their plate, but to come to you and say, I've got a great idea. Do you think we can try this? Because that is where you make leaps. You leapfrog in your company and your progress when your team says, I think I know how to make this better. Can we try this? You have to let space for failure and have to make like failure and growth a part of your company culture in order for that to truly be successful so that people aren't afraid. Because if people are afraid, then you're not going to get these like great moments of innovation. But I think that as a leader, if you could find the way to create space for creative inspiration and making failure okay, as long as it comes with quick learnings and growth, you will have an exceptional team and great growth.
There's some who may be stepping into a new leadership role coming up, or they may be guiding change in their position where they're at now. What advice would you give about staying resilient when the system resists you?
Well, there's two things to this, right? You have to have grit. You have to be resilient when you believe something and you want to make change and you want to push it forward. With that, I think the most important thing is the feedback, right? Because if you just plow ahead with your own concept in mind, with a narrow focus, you could be, maybe accomplishing what you want, but there's going to be collateral effects of that because you may be doing it in a way that's not as effective. But if you can do it with some feedback loops in the place, learning from what you're doing and how to make it better, I think that's the way to accomplish it.
Yeah, you talk about grit, and it reminds me about one of my favorite books by Angela Duckworth, Grit.
I have that on my
What
bookshelf right now, like
do you really? Oh gosh.
right by my bed. I've got like 5 books that I'm reading. And Grit has been on my list. I've listened to like the TEDx talk and all that, but like it's there now.
Oh yeah, she's incredible. Audience, if you haven't read that, pick it up today. Tamara, what other books, resources have most influenced your leadership style?
Well, gosh, I'm trying to think of the books that have influenced my leadership style. Because I mean, I can talk about other books right now. I'm reading Hooked, which is all about creating habit forming products, which is very interesting. Of course, Atomic Habits, but that's just about being a better person. Leadership style. That's a really good question. I actually think that might be lacking in my reading repertoire. I read Ray Dalio's last book, which was really interesting because he's a great thinker and a great leader, and that had some good takeaways. But I think from leadership, especially as a woman, I think you're going to give me my homework on this. I have to read some more, especially from female authors.
Love it. Well, when you get those books, send them my way. And we always get requests from my audience of what they should be reading next. So I'm sure that'll be a good one. So I appreciate you
I read
being
a
willing
lot
to
of
do that.
Stoic philosophy, and I mean, my reading list is pretty is is pretty funny. Like I'm reading Stoic philosophy right now. I'm reading Hooked, um, something on accounting.
That sounds riveting.
I know.
Speaking of stoicism, have you read Chop Wood, Carry Water by Joshua Metcalf?
I haven't, but actually that's on my Amazon wish list right now. So
Yes.
you highly recommend it?
I highly recommend it. So if you're in Tamara's life right now and you're thinking of her Christmas present, that's the one. I won't give it away, but it's a fun read. It's a fun read.
That's great.
So yeah,
I think Stoicism has so much. So I've been
yeah.
digging into it and also listening to Hidden Brain, the podcast. And then there's there's a Stoicism podcast I can give you the link to that I've also been listening to on my runs.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'd love all those links. Tamara, what one habit have you adopted over the past several years that can help my team, that could help somebody listening? What's a habit that they can adopt and pass on?
So there's a few. After I had, and this is funny because it's not about, a habit for team, but I think it's, for you as a leader. And I'm certain that other people, this is like one of the ones that people talk about, but I am going to say it transformed me and my attitude. I'm a 5 a.m. wake up and work out. Oh, 5 a.m. I wake up, I meditate for 10 minutes, and then I work out for 60 minutes. And that transforms my day. It is the best decision that I make. It shows me that I can do hard things. It sets the pace and the energy for my day. I come into my first meetings with a clear mind. If I don't do that, my team can tell.
What's next for Empower that our listeners can keep an eye on?
But we are launching in Q1. So you can, join on our website. You can follow us for updates. And yeah, we are going to start testing out. Our agents are going to be live. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Great. And Tamara, how else can my audience connect with you? Where can they find you? In your
LinkedIn.
work?
LinkedIn is the platform that I chat on. So if you want to direct message me, you can find me there. I'm happy to talk. I love connecting. I love growing my community. So follow me and connect with me on LinkedIn.
Well, there you have it. Tamara, very enlightening. I've learned a lot. I know my audience has as well. And so for the audience, if you liked this episode, make sure to share it with somebody. Like and subscribe as well. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter. It's free. We give you all the good stuff. Tamara, I can't wait to have you on again. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Mo, for having me. This was great.
You got it.